You're wandering through a dusty flea market on a lazy Sunday, or maybe you're clearing out your grandma's attic. Your hand brushes against something forgotten. A box, a painting, a strange-looking piece of pottery. Your heart gives a little thump. What if? What if this is the one? This is the fantasy that fuels Antiques Roadshow. It's not just a show about furniture. It's a weekly lottery ticket for the hopeful. We tune in to watch ordinary people discover that the ugly vase they've been using as a doorstop is actually a long-lost Ming Dynasty treasure worth £1 million. We live for that moment of stunned silence, the joyful tears, the expert's smiling confirmation that, yes, their life is about to change forever. But what happens when the dream turns into a nightmare? What happens when the camera is on you? The expert is building the tension, and the big reveal is the most humiliating, soul-crushing news you could possibly imagine. That's exactly what happened to one archaeology student in an episode that became one of the most painfully relatable, heart-stopping moments in the show's history. It started with a hopeful quest and ended in a total physical collapse. The find: a treasure hunter's fantasy. Our guest wasn't just a casual treasure hunter. This is what makes the story so much more potent. She was an archaeology student. She had studied history. She had, in theory, the knowledge to spot a genuine artifact. She found her prize at a flea market in southeast London. Imagine the scene. A sprawling collection of tables piled high with house clearance junk, old records, forgotten toys, and random bric-a-brac. The seller, according to the student, didn't really seem very interested in it. That's flag number one for any hopeful treasure hunter. But our guest was interested. Fresh from a part-time archaeology course, her mind was buzzing with knowledge. She saw an object that screamed ancient. It was caked in sandy earth, a telltale sign, she believed, that it had been buried. Her academic brain kicked in, and she landed on a diagnosis. This had to be a funeral offering. The item in question was a heavy, cast bronze piece, beautifully aged with patches of green patina. It looked like something that belonged in a museum, specifically from the Han Dynasty of ancient China. She entered negotiations. The seller wanted £50. She, savvy and confident in her find, bartered him down. She walked away having paid just £30 for an item she believed wasn't just old, but ancient, a priceless piece of history. Can you feel that thrill? That electric buzz of believing you've just pulled off the antique deal of the century. She wasn't just holding a piece of bronze. She was holding a story, a ticket, a validation of her passion. And then she brought it to the roadshow. The appraisal, building to the breaking point. She found herself in front of one of the show's most respected experts, David Batty. When David gives his appraisal, the audience listens. He has a way of weaving a story, of building the tension until the final, dramatic valuation. He took the item, turning it over in his hands. "It's a very unusual thing," he began, his tone serious. "Where did you find it?" The student proudly recounted her story of the flea market, the house clearance, and her archaeological hypothesis. "I presumed it was some sort of funeral offering." David nodded, validating her initial assessment. Indeed, he confirmed. These were grave goods. Almost invariably, they were buried. This was it, the confirmation she was longing for. He continued, painting a picture of its supposed history. "And having been dug up, you get all this wonderful color building up here. This is cast bronze, and the copper is coming through. That's because of acid attack by the soil." He was describing everything a genuine artifact would have. The excitement was palpable. He even added that such an item would likely belong to a highly important official when it was buried. The implied value was skyrocketing. But then, the pivot. The one word that changes everything. "The thing that worries me," David said, his tone shifting ever so slightly, "is that this would normally be what we call a B-disc, the eye, which actually has a hole in the middle. A small detail. a worry. But the hook was in. The student, still riding the high of her discovery, leaned in for the final, definitive word. She asked the $1,000,000, or in this case, £30, question. How old is it? The collapse. My life is over. David Batty looked at her. He didn't fluff it. He didn't soften it. He delivered the news with the clean, sharp efficiency of a guillotine. A couple of years. The words hung in the air for a split second before their full, devastating weight landed. The student didn't just gasp. She didn't just cry. She collapsed. Her body went limp, and she fell directly onto the expert's shoulder, burying her face in his jacket as a